This is Love from Level Up Consulting Firm, and today we're going to be discussing the importance of having an emergency fund. Now, a lot of gurus now, especially in the areas of finance and business, talk about having an emergency fund. And I know I've done one in a previous video that was directly business related and talking about how when you decide to go out on a limb, how you need to have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved before you decide to quit your job and pursue a new business venture. But I want to get a little more personal with you all today and talk about how important it is to have that stash of money. So Dave Ramsey recommends that you have $500 to $1,000 saved. $500 for a single person and $1,000 for families. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about why that is so important and how it saved me, like literally. So the first thing, you need to have an emergency fund because jobs are very unpredictable. Sometimes you have a situation where you may get paid hourly, right? And so if you're used to being paid a certain amount of hours per week and then your hours get cut, guess what? Your money's going to look a little different. Let's just add on an additional scenario. Let's say the few hours you missed didn't really impact you that much, right? But now you don't have that additional money. Well, now what if your cousin or your little sister calls and says that she needs money for a car repair, or he says he needs money for a family emergency, and now you're being split in different directions where you have to pay something? What if your car breaks down, right? And so we don't like to think about these scenarios because we don't like the idea of something bad happening to us. And while I do agree that you have to keep the vibes high and, make sure that you're not focusing on something negative potentially happening to you, I still think that preparation is the most important thing, because preparation makes the difference between a situation and a crisis, right? And so it becomes a crisis situation when it's out of your hands and then you start to suffer in the area of basic needs, like not being able to buy food, not being able to get gas so that you can actually drive to work and have more money, your children going without something. Now, I'm not a parent, but I've spoken with so many parents. I used to work with children with autism, and I also used to be a nanny. So I worked with children for about 7 years. And one of the things I know about a parent is if your child is unhappy or they're suffering, that's extremely painful to watch. If your baby's sick even, people are like, I just wish I could take my baby's pain away. Now imagine the feeling if you're not able to give your child what they need, much less what they want, right? Those basic fundamental needs: food, water, shelter, security. And your sense of security is shaken when you don't have a stable place to live and when you don't have stable food to eat. So it's mandatory, it's imperative. And that $1,000, believe it or not, you can make that stretch compared to not having anything to fall back on, or compared to only having $100 or $200 in a savings account. Now, don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that having $100 or $200 saved is not a good thing, but you should definitely be saving more. And I hear people say all the time, oh, well, I just don't make enough money to save. Well, you do. Look at your spending habits. Look at where your money's going. A lot of people spend their money on food, miscellaneous things, which right now you're not able to go out to eat. So you should be saving more, right? Unless you're in the house shopping online at queencarecosmetics.com, or you purchase a package from Level Up Consulting Firm so that you can figure out how to make more money. But those are investments in self, right? So we're not speaking on investments, because you do have to have money and resources poured back into yourself so that you can be your best self. But I really need you to think about this, guys, because essentially you can make or break yourself with your money spending habits and with your saving habits. Now, I will tell you from personal experience, having a sinking funds account and having an emergency fund has been such an asset to me. And you never know when you're going to need that money. I can say one emergency for myself last year was I got a flat tire. I ran over a nail and I couldn't figure out why air wasn't staying in my tires. And so when I went to go have them looked at, I was able to get a new set of tires because I had money put away to go purchase new tires, right? And I didn't have to get a whole new set of tires, but I had the money to. Instead of me just getting one tire repaired, why not replace both the front tires, right? Why not replace the back tires? I have the money to do it, and it's necessary to continue the life of my car. When you keep up your maintenance, when you have your oil change, when you make sure that your tires are intact, when you have the fluids checked in your car, this is what builds up the longevity of your vehicle and prevents it from breaking down so soon. A lot of people, when their car breaks down, it's because they've been neglecting something. Because of a couple times they didn't have the money in time to go get their oil changed, right? They didn't have the resources to run to Jiffy Lube on a Saturday and say, hey, can you do a diagnostic and see what's going on? I hear something. A lot of people ignore these things because they're like, I don't have the money for it anyway. But if you had $1,000 or more, or that 3 to 6 months of expenses in an account, you wouldn't be afraid of that. You're going to go see what's up with my car, right? Because that's your livelihood. It's very uncomfortable to not have transportation, especially when you're accustomed to having transportation. And so you have to do what you need to do in order to prevent these crises from happening, right? So a bougier example I'll give, because some people are like, oh, well, I don't have that problem. My dad fixes cars. My dad does this for my house. My dad, whatever, right? Maybe that's not your situation, but what if you had to seek legal counsel? So a personal situation, I am going through a legal battle right now, and I had to hire a lawyer. Now, lawyers are not inexpensive. They cost typically for consultations. Now, most lawyers I have come across, they won't charge you for a consultation, but this one did. And so I had to pay hundreds for a consultation and then hundreds for the securing of the attorney, right? And that money could have been detrimental to my pockets if I did not have an emergency fund. It's imperative. I had no idea I was going to lose my job this month. For the month of April, completely self-employed. I had no idea. So you know what I had to do? Improvise. I had to create an online course and begin selling digital products and continue selling items from my skincare line, right? And ultimately, all of these things are great, but an emergency fund helps you between that gap. It helps you get over the hump. Have an emergency fund. They say $500, like I said, for a single person and $1,000 for a family. I think as a single person, you should have $1,000. 5 checks, $200 put away. And you can go speak with HR of your company and say, hey, I would like to change something and get a certain amount of money direct deposited to a different account. It's as easy as pie. They can send you over the paperwork electronically. You can fill it out, or they can mail you some paperwork. You can fill it out, mail it back, and you will never have to see that money. Automate those savings. Automate that so that you won't even see it. You won't miss it. And your money can grow and grow. And then when you need it in the case of an emergency, you have it. I promise it's an asset. I promise you I'm living it right now, and it's tough and you hate these emergency situations. But when you have a nest egg, when you have something to fall back on, it makes all the world of difference, and it gives you some flexibility. It gives you some options. It buys you some time. And that's what financial literacy does for you. It buys you time. So once again, I have to let you all know that my financial coach and advisor is Jateria Pittman. She is absolutely phenomenal. Seriously, she's phenomenal. And so Level Up Consulting Firm did just release a financial package where you can learn. It's called the Finance Intensive, and I have a bunch of tips there. But if you need someone to sit down with you, to talk to you about your budget, to create a budget with you, to consistently go over the numbers for your personal finances as well as your business, Jateria is the person to go to. And she is the debt-free travel journey. You can find her on Instagram. And I will also make sure that I put her information in the description box so you can reach out to her and tell her love sent you, love from Level Up Consulting Firm. Thank you guys so much for listening. Remember, you are not made by how much money you make. You are not made by how much money you have. Okay, so don't be discouraged. Do what you can, save what you can, get that nest egg. You can do it, and I believe in you. Peace and love. Bye.